To add that balance or imbalance to your artwork, you can use the rules of construction. Now, these aren't rules that are set in stone. You can definitely play around with them, but it will definitely give you a guide and give you ideas of how you can make a balanced or slightly imbalanced composition and make something that looks pleasing to the eye. Now, the most well-known rule of construction is the rule of thirds. You might have already heard of it. And when you're using the rule of thirds, you actually cut your canvas in three, both vertically and horizontally. And for the viewer, it's pleasing when you add your focal point to one of these intersections. It'll create an interesting, slightly imbalanced composition. You can also use it to decide where big elements in your painting need to be. For example, the horizon could be along this line or this one, or you could have something big cover this entire area and then leave this empty. It's an easy to apply rule of construction, which will help you create more interesting compositions. Here's a little example by Wang Ling. Here you can clearly see how the rule of thirds has been used. You can see that this focal point, this tram, is at this intersection. And you can see how the canvas is cut in three. This middle section, it's like 1/3 of the canvas of the painting. Here's another example. This rock area, it's covering almost 2/3 of the painting. Here we have this character near this intersection. And you can see that this opening here, this cliff, it's right along this line. Finally, we have this one. Here again, you can see that the main characters are placed along the intersections. Even though this one is slightly off, you don't have to follow this rule exactly. You can play around with it. You can also see that this area, this grass, is right underneath this line. So this artist has roughly used the rule of thirds here. Another rule of construction is the golden ratio. It's like the rule of thirds, but a lot more complicated. For the golden ratio, the ratio of this area to the entire length is the same as this area to this area. And that goes on as you go smaller. And you can actually find this ratio, this golden ratio, all around you in nature. In plants, and also in architecture, and you could even find it in some cinnamon rolls. Here's a good example of how Wang Ling used the golden ratio and the Fibonacci spiral, which just follows that golden ratio into eternity to enhance the composition of this character painting. You can see how the eye is exactly in that ratio. When you look at the top of the head, then the eye, and then the full length. And you can see how the spiral follows that helmet. And it curves into this area of the helmet. And actually, the Fibonacci spiral, the golden ratio, has been used for many ages. Rembrandt used it in this painting, for example. And you can see how it connects everything. You can see the ratio between the book and these characters, these people looking at it. And then we have this final character over here. You can see how this curve makes you look around the entire painting, guiding the viewer. Of course, in this painting, you can also see how Rembrandt uses contrast to guide the attention of the viewer. It's a great idea to look at the old masters and see how they use these rules of construction in their painting. And here we have another one making great use of the golden ratio. And you can see that you don't have to lay that Fibonacci spiral on top of your canvas. You can use it in a smaller part of your painting. But since this ratio is all around us in nature, it makes it pleasing to the eye. It makes it pleasing to look at. And that's why you can find it in so many paintings. And I'm not even sure if these artists use it on purpose, or if it's something that comes with a lot of experience, or if they just get a sense of this golden ratio naturally. Here we have another one, another great example by Wang Ling. You can clearly see the spiral in this image. You can also see the blur and focus in this image, clearly setting the focus on the character, on the face here. And you can see how you could spiral along the arm towards that tip of the arrow. A way to add balance to your composition, to your artwork, is by using a centered composition. It's often used in portraits and it gives a sense of calm and balance. Now in this painting, you might also notice that color has been used to add contrast in this painting and to attract the viewer towards the face of this girl. Here we have another centered composition, adding that feeling of calm. So it's not just the subject of this cute little cat with the blossom. The composition is adding to that feeling of calm. Here another example of a centered composition, adding to the calm in this piece. You can see how everything is nicely balanced. The light area in this painting is in the center. The two characters stand in the center of the painting. And also the artist made use of contrast to attract the viewer towards these two characters.